It.
We're live.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Edmondson. I'd like to welcome you to this week's edition of Real Fellas Talk Sports. I'll be your host for tonight's show, and I'm broadcasting you from Atlanta, Georgia. Joining me tonight, I've got two of the regular Real Fellas with me, Mr. Earl Go-Go Rush out of Washington, D.C., and Mr. David Burnett out of Indianapolis, Indiana. How you guys doing tonight?
Great.
Pretty good, Kevin. And David, how you guys doing out in Indianapolis?
Well, to be honest with you, a little sorrow. Nate McMillan has been fired. The Indianapolis 500, my favorite sporting event, had no fans. I had to watch it on TV. So, not as happy as I'd like to be.
Okay. How you doing, Kevin, down in Hot Atlanta?
Well, I'm just sporting the news, man. Sporting the news. Trying to stay safe and protected. That's what I'm doing. So we got quite a show lined up tonight. There's a lot going on in the sports world, particularly in the light of COVID-19 and social justice. And speaking of social justice, for the first time in NBA history, the NBA playoffs games were canceled due to a boycott spearheaded by the Milwaukee Bucks over the Jacob Lake shooting. That is historic. We're going to cover that tonight and a whole lot more in what we're calling our NBA special. However, before we get started, we got a special guest tonight we want to bring into the conversation with us.
But I bet you couldn't put one of these fruit pastels in your mouth without chewing it.
Sure I can. Oh, all the oil is there, you can breathe too. With the rousers the best to this chew.
Bit of a tall order, was it?
Okay.
Well, I'd like to please bring Bobby Special K Kinzer into the show. Bob, you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
How you doing? Fantastic. Glad you could join us tonight.
It's an utmost pleasure to be on Real Fellas Talk Sports. I'm honored.
Now, for our audience out there, you may not know that you, Earl, and I went to high school together at the great Woodrow Wilson High School in Washington, D.C.
Yes, one of the greatest schools
The Mighty Tigers, right?
Washington, D.C. Y'all were on the football team. Wide receiver and cornerback.
Yes, sir. So, Bobby, we go way back, but we haven't been in contact that much over the years. So after high school, what's your background a little bit? You went to Penn State on scholarship, played basketball there, and then you finished your collegiate career at Texas A&I. Is that correct?
I finished my basketball career at Texas A&I, but I actually got my degree from the University of District of Columbia. Okay. I fractured my foot my senior year in high school. My senior year in Texas A&I, missed the whole year. But I actually was able to go to a free agent camp in Tulsa, Oklahoma, with 70 of the top players in America, and I actually got picked up by an agent, and I was sent to Venezuela that spring, and played in Venezuela in South America, and then he my agent picked up an agent and sent me to Europe, and I played in England for 2 years, in Scotland for 3 years, and some of the best 5 years in my entire life.
Well, that sounds like quite a story, my man. So what are you doing now? Basketball's over. What are you doing now?
Now I'm a certified financial education instructor. I just retired from the FDIC, the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation, 3 years ago. The people that insures your money in the bank.
I know a little bit about
the letters in the window. Take your money and run. So I was a senior financial analyst. I was a stockbroker when I finished playing ball. What happened was after A&I didn't finish my degree because I got a contract to play in Europe. I went, played for a year, had a fantastic year in Europe, became an all-star, and then I came back, finished my degree at the University of the District of Columbia, and went back and played 4 more straight years. Best thing I ever did was able to get my degree. And when I stopped playing ball in 1985, became a stockbroker. Then I became an investment advisor. Then I got on the regulatory side of banking for 30 years, just retired. And now I teach underserved. I teach financial education in the DMV and all over the United States of America. Got a company called Life, nonprofit, 501c3, Literacy Institute of Financial Enrichment. And we've been teaching and empowering people about credit, debt management, student loan management, and savings. So that's what I'm doing now. But right quick, on the European side, my God, man, there are so many guys that come from the DC metropolitan area that played in Europe. I'm talking about guys that played like Merlin Wilson, who went to Georgetown, played for at least 12 teams. Guys that went to the Europe and came back in the NBA, went to Europe first, like Keith Hearn. Remember him, went to Mackin?
Yeah, remember Hearn. He
played in Belgium first, then played for Detroit. How about this one? Now, Ireland is probably one of the lowest countries as far as the level of basketball. Mario Elie, remember him? Houston?
Oh.
Mario played in Ireland and then went to Houston. So a lot of people talk about the pro players that finish playing in the NBA and then they go overseas, or the players that come from overseas and come to the NBA.
That's a great story. It's a great story. It's actually a good segue to where we're going. Tonight we're gonna. There's so much going on in the NBA. We're gonna we dedicate this to an NBA special segment. So we're gonna jump right into the NBA, and once you stick around with us and kind of join us in the NBA conversation. Okay?
Great.
So we're gonna start off with the hottest topic of the day, the NBA boycott. Today we got continually breaking news that the Milwaukee Bucks chose to boycott their playoff game versus the Orlando Magic in the light of Jacob Blake shooting. This led to a domino effect of the NBA canceling the remaining games for the day, and there's talk of games being canceled tomorrow. So this is all late-breaking stuff, guys. I just want to get your opinion. What do you guys think about this? What does it mean? What's the impact? What happens tomorrow? What's the end game? I'm going to start with you, Earl. Go ahead.
Well, at first I was when I first heard about the boycott, I was like, what does that do? What is this doing? Because you stop playing basketball. I mean, people who run around killing black people with hatred, they don't watch basketball games, so they don't care what you're doing. But then I thought about it and I said, actually, what the NBA players are doing is great because they are willing to take a stand about this craziness. And though maybe people who racist pigs don't care about the NBA players, a lot of people, they have a huge platform. And so people are going to start to listen to what they're talking about. And they're giving up their game, their money and everything just for a stand. And I think it's beautiful.
David, what are your thoughts on this?
I got to follow up on what Earl is talking about regarding the platform. The NBA players have some of the most significant platforms, and they're using them. They are probably the most respected and most recognized of the celebrities within the Black community. Now, why do we need celebrities? Well, celebrities bring power with them. They're using their power. Honestly, I'm not sure if we're going to see any more playoff games. I think there's a feeling among the players that they need to make a stand. They're making a stand. They've played basketball. They've done what the owners and everybody wanted them to do. So they played a number of games. But I think, the horrific shooting of Mr. Blake really touched off a nerve that they're like, hey, we've got to do something. They saw what happened before. Now they saw something else. We don't know what happened to that led up to Mr. Blake getting shot. But the fact is, 7 shots at point blank range, there's no excuse for that. There's nothing that justifies that. And I think the NBA players have led the way. And the good thing about the NBA is that they not only have cohesion among the players, but they do have a modicum of linking with the ownership and the organization itself, and that's very positive.
Yeah, Bobby, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, what I normally say when people say, what does Colin Kaepernick kneeling do? What does the NBA players boycotting? When I say to people that make those kind of comments, I say, well, what should someone do, right? So what should they do? And I never get an answer back. But what I like to say is some people said they should have never even came back and played. Matter of fact, Dwight Howard is the first one who said that they should not come back and play because this is really distracting.
So did I.
The Black Lives Matter. So I think I kind of agreement with Dwight Howard. They probably should have never came back. Period.
Yeah. I think it's a good debate in the community. I think you have a lot of different viewpoints about it. What's really interesting is that there's a domino effect that's happening here, and I can understand the Milwaukee Bucks. I mean, this was basically in their backyard. I've heard some of their players talk about they've had situations with the police where they felt threatened and harassed. So I can understand them making a real strong stance on this, and it was probably appropriate. But even more importantly today was the fact that I think it's the Milwaukee Brewers, Major League Baseball. They canceled their game. Now, to me, I get you guys' opinion on this. I think that's even more powerful than the NBA's. If Major League Baseball, which is a predominantly white sport, viewing audience, if they have the gall, the audacity to basically cancel a game in the light of Jacob Blake's shooting, I think that means a lot. What do you guys think?
I'm not sure that it means more than the NBA, but it's significant. I think you've got to look at what the NBA has done. They've led the way. Other sports are following. We may see the NFL do the same thing.
Well, I think the NFL doing is even more powerful than the NBA or the NFL or the Major League Baseball doing it.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of the viewership of both of those sports, it's predominantly white audiences. All right, Earl, anything you want to add, Nat? We're going to transition.
Let's move on. You guys covered that pretty good.
Okay, so despite all of the turmoil around games not being played, we do have some games that were played. And in the past week, we've seen the first round of the NBA playoffs take hold. And we've seen a couple of teams that were easily eliminated. The Nets, Davis Pacers, the Sixers, and soon to be the Magic. None of these are really surprises, I guess. But the thing that's really surprising is that these eliminations have resulted in significant organizational changes. And we're going to talk about everybody, well, not everybody's, let's talk about everybody's favorite team first. Let's talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. The 76ers in 2013 started the process that basically included tanking, get high draft picks, an obsession with analytics. It basically resulted in getting Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. And now 78 years later, they're out the playoffs. They have no championships to show. They have no rings, and they fire Brett Brown. So what do you guys think about the process, the front office, Joel Embiid? Where do they go from here?
I think what goes around comes around. When you start a process like they did, which to me was it wasn't right the way in which they did it. You know, to deliberately tank the way they did, to try to gather players, but they gathered the wrong players. And Ben Simmons can't even shoot. You know, all of us over 60 and we can shoot better than Ben Simmons. And that's unacceptable.
Okay. Bobby, what do you think? What do you think about the Sixers? I know you got some words for the Sixers. Come on, man.
They need to blow that mug up. That team, come on, man. They didn't have a chance anyway. Ben Simmons as your point guard, give me a break. The coach, bye-bye. He can go fishing. He can go bowling. He can go hunting. Wasn't even a fan of his anyway. But they need to restructure that whole team, man. And as far as them, you know, how they, you know, made those losses so that they can get the players, come on, man. We talking about big money. I don't fault them, you know, to get what you can get. And, you know, Philly is a basketball town.
Yeah.
It's like New York. They know their basketball, and they need a team, man. But they need to start all over, I think. And Big Boy, B, no. He.
What is that, Bobby? What's that? What is that? No. What is that?
No, he's not the answer. He's not the answer.
Well, Shaq said Embiid was the best player in the NBA and had more skills than him.
Who said that?
Shaq.
Thank you very much. That solves that answer right there.
Oh, we take a shot at Shaq. Okay, all right.
Shaq and the fool.
Shots are fired.
Well, I think I agree with Bobby and David. The process didn't work, but it worked. It didn't work for several reasons. They have the talent, but not only should their coach go, but Elton Brand needs to go too. I don't care if he just started. He needs to go. You don't let Jimmy, who now plays for Miami, you don't let that boy go, especially when he was blending well with the center. Elton Brand don't know what he's doing. You don't pay all that money out to Al Horford and the other guy. I don't even know his name. He's such a nobody.
Harris.
Yeah. See, I don't even know his name. But their front office needs to be cleaned out. You don't let Reddick go. Reddick was spreading the floor. You don't let him go.
You're right, Earl. You don't let a 50-year-old man go. What?
Wow.
Wait a minute now. JJ Redick, he's a good shooting piece for some team, but he's aging. He's in his 30s. He's on the tail end of his career. Philadelphia just made bad selections all the way down, bad draft choices. And, again, pairing Ben Simmons with Joel Embiid, it's not going to work. If you've got one guy that can't shoot, another guy that's too lazy to play on a daily basis, what are you going to have? You're not going to have success.
So everything I hear you guys saying, it points to decisions. Now, wouldn't that be the front office as opposed to the coaching?
Well, I'm gonna step away from what Earl said in terms of blaming the GM right now. They've had multiple decision makers in the process, and the process didn't work.
But the GM picked the coach too, Kevin. The GM picked the coach.
Thank you, Bob.
I think Brett Brown has been here the whole time. He's been through 3 GMs. He's been through what was the guy's name? Lanky. What was the first guy's name?
That's it. That's your point. Can't even think of his name.
No, the analytics guy. You know the analytics guy. The guy who didn't know anything. All he knew was analytics. That's why he was doing all the stuff. And then you had Congello. What's his name? Congello's come in, and then you have Elton Brand. So Brown's been here all the time. I think he's a scapegoat, but I think in reality he lost the team, but he's getting scapegoated, but he lost the team. So
Elton Brand should have got rid of the coach. That should have been the first thing he did. So don't try to give no excuses that he was there before. If he was there before, you should have got rid of him.
Well, I'm saying he was there the whole time. He's the only coach they've had since they started the process. So
when Elton Brand got that job, coach, you got to go. What's the problem?
Well, he probably should have. I mean, but I think they were doing well. So that's the whole thing about this whole Philadelphia thing. The question is, what do they do next?
They can't make no moves. They're cash strapped.
Well, I mean, there are a number of teams that need coaches now. Who do they pick? Who knows? But there's a whole lineup of potential coaches.
Is it just coaches? How about play? I mean, coaches aren't playing. They looked horrible on the floor. So that mix of non-shooters and non-ball handlers. I mean, it's not just the coaching. I mean, they look like they're a mess.
Well, a coach is somebody who can inspire Joel Embiid to actually get in shape and play on a regular basis, not just 1/3 of the season.
Only person who can do that is Greg Popovich. So Joel Embiid is eating cheeseburgers. That's all I gotta say.
Hey, Bobby, I got a question for you, Bobby. Where did Shake Milton come from? Where did he come from?
Who?
You guys.
From Dunkin' Donut. I'm sure he used to make the shakes at Dunkin' Donut. Who the?
He was shaking it up, right?
Come on, man. That team. Look, I usually judge the talent by the general managers, talent when they played as a ball player. And Elton Brand, his game was limited anyway, and that's why his manager skills are limited, just like his game.
Whoa!
It's not his fault. It's not his fault. He was a little man and a big man. No, big man. How'd he go? He was a little man, a big man. No, little man, a big man, and a little man's body.
Oh wow!
Okay. He's just average, and that's how his teams are. Average.
Oh.
Okay, all right. Tell us how you feel, Bobby. Look, so we got a couple more teams to talk about. The Sixers weren't the only team that went down in disgrace. David's favorite team, the Indiana Pacers, also got drubbed.
They did, but let me
drubbed by
there's got to be some perspective put on that.
4-0 sweep. Now the significant thing there is that today the Pacers fired the head coach Nate McMillan. Also have put Victor Oladipo on the trade block. Now, the funny part here is that just 2 weeks ago, they gave Nate McMillan a contract extension.
Yeah, they did.
So, Bobby, what do you think about that? What do you think about these announcements? What's going on? What's going on in the Pacers?
Well, to be a coach in the NBA, to be a coach in any professional sport, it's tough, man. It is tough. I mean, it's like here today, gone tomorrow. You could have done the best thing you ever did. You could have won a championship. You could be gone tomorrow. So, I have no sleepless nights about them letting them go because it's the nature of the game, man. You got to win. And the Indiana Pacers, I know that was, Dave's wonderful team. But, I mean, come on, man. Who they had?
Hold on, Bobby. I think that you have – I live here in Indianapolis. I follow the Pacers.
You're educated, David.
Hold on. I followed the Pacers for 50 years. Now, in Nate McMillan's case, he won during the regular season. He had a different squad every single year. Yes. He had to essentially cobble together a team literally every single year. There were 3 new starting players this year, and they still won more than half their games. So McMillan, the problem with McMillan was he didn't win in the playoffs. And even that is skewed. Last year, Victor Oladipo was injured. Their best player was hurt. So they lost. This year, their best player, Sabonis, was out during the playoffs.
Good point.
So you lose. So what I'm saying about Nate McMillan is he did a good job with the hand he was dealt. His problem is he went 3-16 in the playoffs. Had he won 1 or 2 games, nobody expected them to beat Miami. No, but he needed to win 1 or 2 games in the playoffs, even with a handicapped team, without their best player and with their second best player, well, this year's second best player in Victor Oladipo, somewhat hobbled. So I feel badly for Nate because I think he did a good job. I think another coach would have only gotten about 25 wins per season out of that team. Now, will Nate get another job as a head coach? Probably eventually, but I tell you what, he's the Marvin Lewis of the NBA. When you don't win playoff games, you go, even if you win in the regular season.
Can I make this quick statement, David? Right,
yes, sir.
You said that, and this sums up a lot with the Indiana Pacers, if I could say this statement. Mm-hmm. You made this statement that Victor Oladipo was their best player. That sums up that team right there. God dang. Second of all, did you ever hear that record by Janet Jackson? What have you done for me lately? Out of here. That's how they do it, man.
It's like the NFL, it's not for long.
You got to be hard on Vic. Give him a break.
I think Nate is a great coach, by the way.
Yeah.
No, Nate is a pretty darn good coach. No, yeah. Like I said, he got 40-some wins per season out of a team that, honestly, any other coach would have best gotten 25.
Yeah.
But you've got to win in the playoffs. And I think that, there's a feeling, Indianapolis is a tough town, very basketball smart.
Tough town.
And if you don't, and they don't, even though you got a billionaire owner, the Simon family that owns all the malls in the world, just about, own the Pacers.
Yeah.
But they don't spend the money on the team. That's part of the reason Larry Bird is rumored to have stepped away from the team, because they weren't willing to spend the kind of money necessary to get to the next level.
And the other thing is, in Indiana, being the tough town that it is, that's where the Ku Klux Klan started. I mean, what more do
Whoa, hold on.
Hey, Earl, you want to be in this conversation?
Hey,
Hold on.
Bobby and David going back and forth. Earl, come on and weigh in, please.
here's the thing, because I don't want to tell our business, but if I remember in the pre-production meeting, we said we weren't even going to talk about the 76ers or the Indiana Pacers. I don't even know why we're talking about those two loser teams anyway. When we got the Lakers and Utah and everybody talking about, we wasted time. Anytime you talk about Indianapolis, except for David, you wasted time.
Oh,
We're
Lord.
more so talking about the coaching changes. What's going on with the coaches and the organization?
He needed to go. I don't like for a black man to lose his job, especially not in the NBA, because there's not a lot of them.
And look, even I'm with you. Look, let me tell you something, Earl. I don't like for a black man, like you said, because explain this for me. It's talking about jobs. How can a woman with big boobs get a job at
Don't go there, Bobby.
Don't woman with one leg can't get a job at IHOP? Explain that.
Whoa.
Okay.
Man,
Kevin, what is the next subject?
well,
I'm just saying.
well, woo. Okay. All right. So there's only one other team I just want to bring into the mix real quick. And Earl, I'm gonna let you give a quick dissertation on this. The Nets got swept too, but what do you think about the Nets going into next year?
I think the next they're going to be good. I think KD will tell Kyrie, look, I know you may think you're the man, but I am the man. And if they can get a serviceable big man, because Jared Allen is not the answer, I think the Nets will be threatening people for sure.
Bobby, any comments on that?
I'm not sure about. I'm not too sure about Kyrie Irving.
Thank you.
And KD blending together, because Kyrie wanted to be the man so bad that's why he left Cleveland and thought he can run the Celtics, right? And it didn't happen. So I'm curious to see how that chemistry works out. If it works out, I think they can be prolific. But if it don't, because I'm telling you, I played on teams and the championship teams that I won with teams that got along on and off the court.
Kyrie Flat Earth Irving. I'm sorry. He's about himself. I think he's a dynamite player as an individual. He's an individual talent, but he should take his talents to the Harlem Globetrotters and be done with it. As a teammate, he's not a good teammate. And so I don't think the Nets are going to be that good.
Okay. All right. So let's just follow Earl's lead. Earl wants to talk about some other things. Quit talking about these losing teams. There are a couple of hot series still going on. Well, Lakers and Blazers was hot. Clips and Mavs is on fire, and I think the Rockets and Thunder is on fire, as well as the Jazz and Nuggets. But Earl, you're a Laker man. We're going to start with you at the top. Tell us about the Lakers and Blazers. What are your thoughts on that series?
That series is over. I didn't expect it. I thought it was going to go 7 the way Dame was playing. He's hurt. That series is over. I'm not too sure about the Lakers going too much further, because I think that Kuzma and Caldwell Pope, I think they just got lucky the last couple of days. We can't depend on them, and it takes more than Anthony Davis and LeBron to win when they play the Clippers. So I think this may be the Lakers' last stop, actually. I'm a Laker fan, and I would love for them to do well, but they don't have enough perimeter shooting for me. They just don't. Consistent perimeter shooting.
What you got to say, Bobby? What do you think?
It's hard to tell, man. I mean, I've been trying to think of who would overall win it all, and I couldn't even come up with one clear team. You know what I mean? I was leaning towards the Lakers because I'm definitely a LeBron fan. Way he handles everything on and off the court. So I'm biased there, but it's just something about them. Like I'm with Earl. I just don't think they have enough shooters. But sometimes they can shoot, but I don't think that. And if you rely on the shooting of LeBron, that's what they want you to do. They'll let him get a triple-double every night. They top everybody else.
David, what you guys say? What's your thoughts, David?
I think the best coached and the best playing team all year long have been the Toronto Raptors. I think they're going to repeat. I think Nick Nurse has done an excellent job, and I think they've got a real good roster of players. Van Fleet, oh my goodness! I mean, he's a 3-point machine now, and I think they can beat the Milwaukee Bucks in a 6-game series, and I think they will beat the Lakers or the Clippers.
What are your thoughts on the Lakers Blazers? What are your thoughts on the Lakers Blazers?
It's over.
Okay.
When Damian Lillard got hurt, it was over. But even when he was playing, he hurt his finger. They weren't shooting as well. Lakers got into a rhythm. It's already over. It's already 3-1, I believe, right?
Yeah. So is it over because of Dame, or is it because of the Charles guarantee? I think it's the Charles guarantee. I think that
Charles talks too much.
He's entertaining.
Guarantee. Well, let's go to another series that's really everybody's talking about: the Clippers versus the Mavericks. It's probably been a lot better than we expected. Way more competitive. I personally think it's over, but it's been good to watch. So let's start with you, Bobby. What do you think about that one?
Clippers and Mavericks. Well, first of all, Luka Doncic is a beast.
Thank you.
And I was listening one week where Kevin made this statement. He was kind of appalled that individuals were correlating him with Larry Bird. And I just like to make this statement. No. But he moves like a black man sometimes when he cuts through the hoop with some of the moves. He got a little hippity-dippity. And I came up with this, Kev. Maybe not Larry Bird, but it's this player that he reminds me of that some people forgot about, named Michael Ray Richardson. Okay. He used to score, he could pass, he could shoot, he could do it all. And he could get to the hoop. But Doncic's passing reminds me of Magic, to be honest, because he gets the ball to the people in the right place. But can I make this quick statement about Doncic and all the other international players?
Sure.
Have anybody wondered why there was such an influx of these international players all of a sudden? And this is just only my opinion. But to me, the onslaught of European players was really a backfill, and I hope y'all don't mind me saying this, for the American white players that wasn't playing basketball anymore.
I agree 100%.
It's a fact. I mean, they do have some international players like Luau Dang and stuff like that, Bol, but no. To me, it was a backfield because I don't know if you noticed that a lot of American white players was like, man, I ain't going out there practicing every day like black people. And how about this one? When the last time you seen a Jewish basketball player? Why? Because the boys are going in, their family like, go get that calculator and go get a job. But the white players weren't playing like the black players anymore. And that's why the league is majority black, because that's where we saw a path to success and money. So I get it. But I think part of it is the backfield with the white players and they putting white players in the seat. And don't forget, y'all, that still makes a difference.
Well, some of those European white players come from backgrounds that cause them to want to use basketball as a way out. They come from some war-torn countries. They come from circumstances that that we have no idea how difficult it is. And in a sense, it's very similar to, in its own way, to some of the struggles that many of the African American players. You want to, you're striving to do better, to get out. And American white players, I don't think, have the same drive as European white players.
Yeah, that's my point, David. Yes. And this is another thing, too. And now somebody may challenge me on this, but I believe the European players are way more fundamentally sound than the American players, period, across the board. And the reason why is because in some countries, like Yugoslavia, where they split to Croatia and Serbia, but anyway, countries like that, they don't play 5-on-5 until they like sometimes 15 and 16. They play 3-on-3. They go into the classroom. They break the sport down. So they really learn the game. And then, two, David, some of these guys are coming from countries that these guys got wars, literally wars going in their country. So they have a way more desire to come and play and run through the wall than some of these players that become entitled to play AAU. I have nothing against AAU, but the AAU sometimes spoil these players. They don't teach them the full fundamentals they need, and they grow up pampering them so much that they become entitled. But anyway, I wanted to just have a discussion right quick since you brought up Luka Doncic, because I'm telling you, the other bad boy that people don't talk about for Miami is Dragic. Oh my God, these must can shoot. They got some serious European players out there.
Well, I like Luka Doncic. You know, I think he's one of the best players in the NBA right now, and he's only 21 years old.
Yes, yeah.
And he can only get better.
Agreed.
All right. So who are you guys taking in that series, Clips or Mavs?
I'm taking the Clippers. I'm taking the Clippers. They're just deep, man. They're just deep. They got a couple of people who come off the bench and get double figures, 20, 30, just like that. Lou Williams and things like that. They're just packed. And even if Luka Doncic didn't get hurt and the big center didn't get hurt, I don't think they could take the Clippers in 7. But as everyone is saying, that Luka Doncic, he may not be the next Larry Bird. He may be the next Luka Doncic. But I take the Clippers. I take the Clippers.
So do we have a consensus among the group? Clippers, everybody?
I think the Clippers. I would say so. I mean, as long as playoff Paul actually delivers, don't get me started.
Okay, all right.
But can I just say this right quick? So this is part I struggle with. Like I told you, trying to really pick who's going to come out on top of the NBA this year. Now, did y'all notice this last game? Right. The Clippers won
153 to 111.
Do you understand the game before that Dallas won was what? 155 to 1. So is anybody playing defense? Do you know the top 6 players in the NBA are averaging 30 points? I don't think that ever has happened in the same season, maybe over the years, but they haven't. So I'm like, so it's hard for me to pick. Because I'm like, is it they just shooting that well?
I think it's the atmosphere. This is, it's a sterile atmosphere. We're seeing, virtual fans. They're playing in gymnasiums, not arenas. But gymnasiums kind of made to look like arenas to the television viewer. They don't have distractions. They're not traveling. They're spending most of their time thinking about the game. The longest distance they're traveling, maybe a mile or so to whatever hotel on the Disney property. So it's not the same game that they would necessarily be playing with a packed arena.
But 150 points in another game.
All right, we got to move on, guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
just want your vote. Next couple of series, just want you to say who you picking. Rockets, Thunder.
You know what I like about the Rockets? No.
Just Rockets, Thunder.
They play give and go basketball. Give it to me and you go to hell.
So you picking Rockets. Earl?
Thunder.
David?
Rockets.
Okay. Jazz, Nuggets.
Nuggets.
Jazz.
Nuggets.
Jazz.
All right. So that kind of wraps up the playoffs. Really good discussion on the playoffs. There's a lot going on. Hopefully we'll see some games this week. We may not. I'm going to continue in the NBA, and I want to switch up a little bit. Last week, the NBA held its draft lottery. And there's a lot to talk about the lottery. I think Minneapolis ended up with the number 1 pick, and Golden State came second. So a couple of questions about it. One thing is, who's going to go number 1? Will Minneapolis and Golden State keep their picks? And what can the NBA do about the lottery? Because it's pretty much falling in line. It's pretty much whatever place you're in, there's no suspense, no intrigue in it anymore. Right? So, Earl, we'll start with you. Who goes number 1? And what do Minneapolis and Golden State do? What do you think?
I think Anthony Edwards is going number 1. He can fill it. Any team can find a place for him, is the way I see it. I think they'll keep that pick. I'm thinking Golden State will go with Wiseman. The rest of the draft picks are up in the air.
Okay, David, what are your thoughts?
I think the number 1 player is going to be one of the Ball brother.
Okay, LaMelo, right?
LaMelo.
Yeah, LaMelo.
Because he's gotten better. I don't think he's a poor shooter. And by the way, speaking of the Ball brothers, what happened to the middle brother?
Oh, he nothing. What was expected of him? That's what happened.
I mean, Daddy was talking about him, but Dad, thank God we're not hearing anything from him. But I think LaMelo is going to be the first pick.
Okay, so do Golden State and Minneapolis keep their picks? Or they trade them? I know Golden State's talked about trading their pick. What do you think?
You talking to me?
Yeah.
Golden State needs some things. If everybody comes back healthy, the league has changed so much since they got all these injuries. Everybody's shooting just like Golden State. So I think Golden State needs to hang on to the picks that they have.
When you say everyone is shooting like Golden State, do you mean shooting accurately or throwing up as many
The
threes?
volume of shots that are being taken, accuracy, we're talking just percentages. But if you take 50 3-point shots every game, as some teams are doing, like Houston, for instance, 50, at some point that adds up. And that's also part of the reason I think scoring is up too. We've never seen this many 3-point shots taken. The game has changed. It's positionless basketball. Everybody's shooting. Centers are shooting. Power forwards are shooting threes. Everybody's shooting a three. And so, and guys are getting closer to 40%. And if you have a number of guys shooting 40%, you're going to see 120, 130-point games more often than not.
So, Bobby, who goes number 1? And what's Minneapolis and Golden State going to do?
I'm not sure what Minneapolis and Golden State going to do. I don't think it's anything in the draft but one guy. And people don't talk about this guy, and he is a beast. His name is Toppin. He plays for Dayton.
Yeah.
Boy, be putting up the numbers. And no one's talking about. They talking about LaMelo and Wiseman and the other boy Georgia. But I think they're missing it, man. Whether they trade or not, if I was GM, I would try to trade and get a veteran player, somebody that can help me now. If that trade would help me,
You from Golden State or Minnesota?
Either one.
Either one. Okay.
Either one.
The interesting thing about Golden State, they're in the same position San Antonio was when the year Tim Duncan came out, where they got hurt, had a bad team, but they still had a good team. So Golden State could be the big winner this year's draft, depending on what they do with that pick. So the other thing about that lottery, I don't know about you guys. To me, it was just pretty much, it fell in order. So there was no suspense. And I know a few years ago, the NBA changed their number of balls so they could, so the worst team could have a better chance of getting the record. But I think the new system is just isn't working because you're basically still paying in the tank. Whoever gets the worst record gets the pick. There's no risk in it. So what do you guys thought about that? I think they should make some changes. What do you guys think about that?
I think they should get rid of it, showing it on TV. It's a waste.
Okay.
I think they should just leave it as it is. I mean, I think the way they have it is if you're not doing that well, you get a chance to get a good player. I mean, I don't think it's good for teams that are going high in the playoffs end up getting the first, second, pick in a draft. I just don't think that's fair. I do agree with you that they need to do something to spice it up, but I guess since I don't have an answer, I guess my answer is
you put lipstick on the booty.
Let me just say this. If we go back 35 years, I think it was 35 years ago, when the NBA pulled off one of the biggest farces of all time with the bent card or cold card that got the Knicks doing. Is that the kind of suspense that you're looking for, Kevin?
No, that wasn't suspense. That was just outright rigging.
Well, I'm glad you agree. It was a
conspiracy theory.
I'm talking about if you tanking. I'm talking about look at Philadelphia. They tanked so they could get the worst record, and they got the worst record. They shouldn't be able to be rewarded that. There should be some risk in tanking to get the worst record. And right now, there is no risk. I mean, the way the commissioner falls in line.
Tanking, he ought to just put him out of the draft.
Well, I think there's some things we can do about it, but we don't have enough time to talk about that tonight because we're winding up to the end of our show. And the way we're closing our shows from now on, we're doing what's called the best of the best segment. And so for tonight's best of the best segment, we're going to talk about the top coaches in the NBA. So early this month, the National Basketball Coaches Association, that's all the coaches, they named Mike Budenholzer of the Bucks and the Thunder's Billy Donovan as co-recipients of the Coach of the Year award. This is all 30 coaches vote on this. So in addition to Budenholzer, these coaches also receive votes. Taylor Jenkins, Nate McMillan, who just got fired, Nick Nurse, Eric Spoelstra, Brad Stevens, and Frank Vogel. Now, sometime in the coming weeks in the playoffs, the NBA is going to announce the winner of the Red Auerbach Award for Coach of the Year. So, question to you guys, who do you think will win your award? If you had, now, two different questions. You got to be very careful about this. Who do you think is going to win the award based on the vote? And if you had a vote, who would you vote to be the winner?
Nick Nurse.
You think he's going to win?
Nick Nurse.
He should win. Yes, absolutely.
And he would get your vote as well.
Best team.
Got my vote.
I'm thinking Nick Nurse as well. He lost two players from his championship team. They didn't draft that well, but they have a lot of depth. And he's worked very well with that team, and they just might win it again. I would go with Nick Nurse. Okay, all right. So I'm going to go to converse to that question now. These are guys that very popular names. Who do you think doesn't get enough credit as a coach and is doing pretty good job? Name me one or two guys.
Eric Spoelstra.
Yeah, I was going to say that too, David.
Okay, so it's unanimous. We all agree Spoelstra doesn't get enough credit. I think he's a fantastic young coach. I think he has the pulse of his team and the pulse of his players. So I agree.
What about Nate McMillan?
What about him?
I think he doesn't get enough credit.
I think Nate's going to have a job real soon. I put it like that.
He'll be a top assistant on some team, and then eventually get a fourth shot as a head coach because he deserves that. He's got to win a playoff game.
It's what, about 5 coaching openings out there right now?
I think there's 6, or there's soon to be 6.
He might have another job. Who knows?
Well, he's a good coach. He's a good coach.
All right, so we always follow our top 5 of the current period with our top 5 of all time. So we'll start with you, Earl. Give me your top 5 all-time coaches in the history of the game.
Okay. Of course, Auerbach. I would go with Phil Jackson. Taking up too much time.
Yeah, you are. We'll get back to you, Earl. Bobby, give me your top 5. Earl got to think about it.
Not in any particular order.
Yeah, just give me your top 5. Then you can say if you want to say who your favorite is, you can say that as well too.
Yeah, no, I'm just going to give you mine, but it's not in any particular order.
Okay.
Red Auerbach, Lenny Wilkins, We talking about all time, right?
All time.
Yeah. Red Auerbach, Lenny Wilkens, Phil Jackson, Chuck Daly, and this fourth one y'all may not know, but his name is John McClendon, and he was the first black coach to ever win the NBA. It was the American Basketball League called the Cleveland Pipers. He was the one who invented the fast break, believe it or not, a black
1962.
John McClendon.
1962.
Thank you. Way to be on the day.
You got some dark horses in there. I like that. David, what you gonna go with, David?
Okay, in no particular order. Casey Jones. Never gets enough credit. Never gets enough credit. Greg Popovich, Phil Jackson, Red Auerbach, and Lenny Wilkens. I don't want to give Pat Riley any more credit than he already gets, so I'm picking Lenny Wilkens.
All right, Earl, we're gonna go back to you, Earl. You got together now, Earl. What you gonna give us?
I would go with Riley. Okay, we got Riley, we got Auerbach, we got Phil Jackson. I could see Casey Jones. That's all I got. I don't even have a fifth one.
Okay.
What about Popovich?
No. Well, if I had the Twin Towers, Duncan, and all the players he had, I would win too. So no.
What about Chuck Daly?
Nope.
Well, Red Auerbach had Bill Russell.
I was going to put Bill Russell in there, David, but
And Bill Russell had Bill Russell too.
Well, I can't argue with any of you guys' selections. I think they're all fantastic selections. And I think you guys have been fantastic panelists tonight. So that kind of is closing out our show tonight. Bobby, I want to say thank you for coming on the show tonight. You've been a great welcome addition. We enjoyed your camaraderie, your spirit. Some of your choices were kind of crazy, but that's you being you. So that's why we love you.
Well, you're right, because one of my choices coming on this show was that. So you make a good point.
There you go. All right.
Thank you for having me, y'all. Y'all are great.
Thank you. Dave, any closing remarks?
My only closing remark is I have been to at least 48 by my count, Indianapolis 500 in person. And I wanted to go to my 49th. And I didn't get a chance to do that. So, it's my favorite sporting event of all sports, and I didn't get to see it in person. So I'm still in mourning about that.
Okay.
And what event is that, David?
The Indianapolis 500.
Okay. All right.
Earl, what are you going to close with tonight, Earl?
I'm telling you, I know in this racial climate with all the racial tension, I know I shouldn't be saying it, but I'm telling you, for a white boy, that Luka Doncic can play. That white boy can play. That white boy is good. He's good, and he's in the top 5 right now. He
is.
That's all I got to say about him.
He is.
Okay. Well, I want to close out and give a special shout out to the Detroit Lions football team. Many may not know, but they were the first professional sports team to take action by canceling practice to talk about the Jacob Blake shooting. This is a huge move on their behalf, and they deserve some recognition for spearheading the action that we basically seen the NBA, MLB, and the WNBA take today. So hats off to the Detroit Lions. All right, so as we close tonight's show, I want to thank you out there in the audience for joining us. Your participation and your support is why we're doing this. And I'd like to say to everyone out there, please stay safe. Please stay strong. Please stay united. If we all do this, we'll come out of this thing on the other side much better. Take care. Good night, all.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right.
Great job, Kev. Hey, I love you, Earl. Go.